Continuing on with the chain rule here, we have a quotient because we are dividing. You may find it easier, though, to rewrite your root as a fractional exponent, which we have done here. Now we'll have to use the quotient rule. So you're going to want to do derivative of the top, which is your 1, times the bottom. So I have the derivative of the top, didn't do anything to the bottom, just kept it there, minus the top, which is just your x, times the derivative of the bottom. So you got to put your exponent in front, decrease your exponent by 1, but notice you have an inside, you got to do the derivative of that x squared plus 4, which is a 2x, all over the denominator squared. Now, we need to simplify this. Well, on the bottom, you just have an exponent raised to an exponent, so you multiply your exponents. On the top, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my greatest common factor. You will notice that we have a couple of things showing up in front of and behind the subtraction sign. Now, we have this showing up here and here. So we're going to be pulling that out. But also, we have a fraction. So we're going to pull that fraction out in addition to our common factor. So we're going to pull that 1/3 out, pull out your common factor. Remember, when you're pulling out your common factor, you always pull out the smaller of the two exponents. And then you want to look at what you have left. You got to think, okay, 1/3 times what gives me that 1? Well, that's a 3, so I got to have the 3 there in front of the subtraction sign. Then this stuff here to the negative 2/3 times that to the what power would give me this here. Remember, when you take this times this, you got to add your exponents to get this up here. So negative 2/3 plus what gives me that positive 1/3? Well, that's just to the first power, so therefore I don't have to write in exponent. My subtraction sign here. Now, that 1/3 came out. This yellow stuff came out, so I'm only going to be left with that 2x in my x, which is a 2x squared. Well, as we look here, this 1/3 causes us to get a 3 in the bottom. This right here is a negative exponent. It goes down into the bottom, becomes a positive exponent. So then all we have to do is just work with what's in the brackets here. Get rid of the parentheses, distribute through. Now all we're going to do is go ahead and collect our like terms. On top gives us an x squared plus a 12. On the bottom, you have this stuff times this stuff, both the same. So remember, when you're multiplying, you add your exponents. So you get a 3. Then you get your x squared plus 4 all to the 4/3. A lot of times when you're dealing with the quotient rule and product rule, you're going to want to go ahead and do your derivative. And the first thing after you do your derivative is always pull out that greatest common factor. If you don't pull out that greatest common factor as your first step after you do your derivative, it oftentimes gets to be a very challenging problem. Looking at this one here, we don't have to use a product rule or a quotient rule here because we're not multiplying things together. We're not dividing things. We're just subtracting. So that means you just do the derivative of the first minus what you get when you do the derivative of the second. Derivative of cosine is negative sine of your angle. But then, since it's not just a normal x in here, you got to do times the derivative of the inside, which is your 2. So I'm going to just simplify the last part a little bit. You're subtracting a negative, so you know you're going to add. Then it's just going to be 2 times your sine.